And I do think that this is especially important for teenage girls so they can become comfortable with talking about what's actually going on in their bodies. And it does extend beyond building lean muscle mass. So that is like for me personally, the way I coach, the way I train, I'm not going to coach somebody to become more toned. I will coach them, tell them that we are going to work on increasing their lean muscle mass. There are a lot of training related myths out there, and teen girl athletes have heard them all. Today, I am going to bust what I think are the biggest, most important myths to bust when it comes to training teen girl athletes. Okay, so let's go. Myth number one: if I lift heavy weights, I'll get too bulky or I'll look like a bodybuilder. So I'm just going to use these lighter dumbbells. Okay, to be fair, I've heard this from women of every age and that they're worried that they'll look like a bodybuilder or they'll look too bulky if they use heavier weights in their workouts. So this is a giant myth. Lifting heavy weights will not will lifting heavy weights alone, let's say that, will not make you look like a bodybuilder. Female bodybuilders look the way that they do as a result of a very specific training and nutritional regimen. It is not simply using heavier weights in the workouts that they do. Um, it takes a significant amount of work and time, and they will tell you that it is 100% not a sustainable way to live. Like they can't live life looking like they're ready to compete in a bodybuilding competition. Um, and they put months of work ahead of those competitions. It's bulking and cutting and bulking and cutting. It's not just using heavier weights. It doesn't that's not going to do it. What will happen though as a result of using heavier weights is that you'll develop more lean muscle mass, which is what gives you this like toned look that women of every age again are after, young and old. They all want this toned look. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really like the word toned. It doesn't actually mean anything in the fitness world. It's become part of our fitness jargon. And so some trainers use it because their clients use it. And I get that. I understand that. Helps you to know that you're on the same page with same goals. Um, but I prefer to teach. So I prefer to use like the proper words. So, in an effort to kind of coach my clients to have a better understanding of what's actually happening in their bodies, I will use the word increasing lean muscle mass over toned. But I do know that that's when somebody says that I want to look more toned, I know that's what they're after, and I'll explain that to them. Um, and I do think that this is especially important for teenage girls so they can become comfortable with talking about what's actually going on in their bodies. And it does extend beyond building lean muscle mass. So that is like for me personally, the way I coach, the way I train, I'm not going to coach somebody to become more toned. I will coach them, tell them that we are going to work on increasing their lean muscle mass. That's personal preference on my part. The other thing that will happen if you use heavier weights in your workouts is that you're going to increase your bone density. And this happens from a young age all the way up. I mean, doesn't matter how old you are. If you're using heavier weights, you're strengthening your bones. Um, we have this capacity to build more bone than we break down. Like our body is constantly building and breaking down bone. So we have the capacity up until age about 25 to build more bone than we're breaking down. So essentially, it's like this ability to kind of maybe stockpile bone before age 25, which is this amazing opportunity for these younger girls. Um, Osteoporosis disproportionately affects older women, right? So from the mid 20s, so from younger age to age 20, about to up to age 25, you have the ability to build more bone than your body breaks down. And then when you're in your mid 20s to about 50, it's about even, right? If we're not doing something to impact that or to make a difference in your bone density, like lifting heavier weights. Um, and then once you hit 50, your body is going to break down more bone than it can build. So if you have throughout your entire lifespan worked to build stronger bones by in a workout, heavier lifting heavier weights, then you're going to approach those years of 50 and beyond in a much better position. So I don't really expect teenage girls to think about their risk of osteoporosis when they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, right? That's not on their radar screen at this point in time, and I don't expect that it would be. But we as parents and as coaches, we know that this is going to help them down the road. And then from a habit forming perspective, they get in the habit at a younger age of pushing themselves and using heavier weights, then they're going to be able to carry that habit throughout their life as well. And at the end of the day, they're in a much better position when they're older adults to live a healthier, longer life, or not have the risk of osteoporosis there. Um, so, myth number one has been busted. You will not look too bulky. You will not look like a bodybuilder if you use heavier weights in your workout. You will build lean muscle mass, which is that desirable toned look that everybody's after. And you will build stronger bones, which will serve you well later on in life. Okay, myth number two. I need to do more cardio to slim down. Okay, cardio has this reputation for melting fat away. I hear girls say, I have to do more cardio before prom, or I need to go run more because bikini season's coming up, or spring break, or something like that. So, first off, like I don't really like to talk about fitness and training in terms of weight loss. I encourage my clients to view training as a way to make them better athletes, but I know that teen girls do care about what they look like. And I have had girls ask, can I do more cardio because, I'm going to spring break soon? So let's talk about it. All right, let's talk about this myth. The truth is that you will have a more prolonged calorie afterburn following a strength training workout where you should be using heavier weights than you will after running 2, 3, 4, or 5 miles. Um, the more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn just in life, right? Just living life. So, guess what you should be doing if you want to slim down, right? Slim down. Yep, you guessed it. Lifting heavier weights. Back to myth number one. This is not to say that cardio does not have its place in a training routine, but it is not the end all be all for slimming down. Cardio is super important for your cardiovascular health, for increasing your stamina and your endurance, and it should be a part of your routine, a part of your routine. Sprint training in particular has a lot of benefits and should be incorporated into your performance training routines. So, like so many other things when it comes to training and your health in general, like there is no magic bullet, there's no magic pill for slimming down. So, myth number two, doing excess cardio is not the secret to slimming down. Myth number three, I have to do a hard workout every single day if I want to see results. I'll be honest, I see this most when there's an overzealous parent involved. Maybe the parent recognizes that the child has an opportunity to get a college scholarship. Maybe this is their key. They think that this is their key, their way in to go to college. That's a big deal. Maybe the parent is trying to vicariously live through their children. Whatever it is, I see this happen when the parent is overzealous. And I have to say this, like if you plan out every single day of your kid's week, either practice, which you don't have control over, coach calls practice on a certain number of days, and then you try to fill in a really hard performance training workout on every other day that they're not in practice, like that's not going to accomplish this goal of having a better athlete, right? That is not good for a variety of reasons. So, first, it can lead to physical exhaustion and poor recovery. Okay. Muscle growth, the gains, that happens in the recovery. It doesn't happen during the workout. So, if you're not getting the proper amount of time for recovery and rest, then you're not going to actually get the gains from the workout. And you'll also be exhausted. You'll have Your coordination will be off, her coordination will be off, she'll increase her risk of getting injured. So we have to incorporate those rest days, right? It has to happen. Should you move your body every day? Yes. Human beings need to move their bodies every day, but it doesn't have to be this completely exhausting practice or training session. You can do a stretch circuit, go for a walk, take a yoga class. Those are things that you can do that you should be incorporated into the week instead of hitting performance training sessions on every off day of practice. The other reason why you shouldn't train for your sport every single day is that it can lead to burnout. This They could actually lose their love for the sport that they've played their entire lives, the sport that might be their key to college. They could lose their love for it and they could burn out. Now, are there seasons when practice and training intensity is turned up? Yes, absolutely. There are seasons. There are seasons in life across the board, but that is not how you need to approach training for your sport. The physical and emotional wear and tear is very, very real. So, myth number 3 is busted. You do not need to train hard every single day in order to get better. Myth number 4, I can do boot camp with my non athlete friends instead of performance training. Okay, I love a good boot camp. It is a fun way to work out, it's a great way to make new friends, and it's a great way to challenge yourself. To be honest, like my first job as a trainer was to coach boot camp. Boot camp is not performance training. As a coach and a trainer, like I have a personal trainer certification, and on top of that, I have a separate sports performance training specialization certification, and the two are not the same, right? What you cover in learning how to coach performance training is not the same thing that you cover when you're learning how to be a personal trainer. The way you train athletes is not the same way that you train non-athletes. The goals and the desired adaptations that you're after as a trainer, like their goals and the desired adaptations that you're after as a trainer, they're specific to things like injury prevention and the way your body actually moves while you're playing sports. Because the way your body moves when you're playing sports is not the same way that your body moves in regular life, in daily life. A lot of times boot camps are going to incorporate some fun, sometimes complicated movements. They're really fun to try, and it's even more fun when you accomplish them. And you can feel really good about yourself and look back and think, wow, I did this really hard, complicated movement. That's awesome. That really is fantastic. I love it. I love that feeling, truly. But that is not giving athletes what they need, right? Athletes need workouts that help them move like an athlete safely and to produce the power, improve coordination, their balance, their stability. It's probably a more boring workout, to be perfectly honest, but it's what they need. Now, is boot camp fine to do every now and then? Yes, absolutely. You have a friend who love their boot camp class and they don't play sports competitively, but they love going to this class and it helps them feel good and get stronger. Um, and they want you to come with them for a class. Go. Absolutely. That is fine. It's just, it shouldn't be your primary way of training if you are an athlete. It's not the way to condition an athlete. So, myth number 4 is busted. Boot camp is different from performance training, and athletes should seek out performance training programs that are designed to serve them well. Okay, this brings me to myth number 5. I can eat whatever I want because I trained today. So, I had to bring nutrition into this, right? You cannot outtrain a bad diet. I know you've heard that. It's true. If you're doing everything right, you're lifting heavy weights in your performance training workout that incorporates the right amount of cardio, you're taking rest days, and then you're going to run through a drive-through and get some fast food? Nah. You're negating all of your hard work. You have to fuel your body properly so that it can perform in the way that you're training it to. You want to get the results and you want to see the results on the court, in the field, on the mat, in the pool. You have to fuel your body properly, right? We can't discuss training myths without incorporating nutrition. And let's acknowledge this can be a touchy topic for teenage girls, right? It can be really hard to bring this up with them, to talk about what they're eating and to nitpick what they're eating or to suggest they eat something different without the worry of them taking it the wrong way. Get that? Yes, 100%. I know that. Um, but again, if we do this in the context of their athletic performance, they're more open to hearing it, right? At the end of the day, teen girls want to know how to fuel their bodies well. They also want to eat junk food sometimes, like we all do. But overall, like they want to know how to fuel their bodies well. And if we don't guide them to reputable sources for this, they're going to turn to non-reputable sources like social media, fad diets, hacks. They're going to talk to their friends about it, what this friend is doing, what this friend is trying. The reality is that athletes have a really high energy demand from their bodies. So the way that we meet that demand is to eat well, to eat to fuel, right? We have to eat so that they have energy. We have to eat to promote muscle growth and eat so that they can recover well. Those are the things that we have to cover in terms of performance nutrition. Not all trainers and coaches are qualified to coach nutrition. So I encourage you to find one who is and someone who that they will actually listen to when it comes to nutrition advice, because that's important. It has to be somebody who they trust and somebody they're willing to take advice from. The other thing that you as a parent need to be open to is buying the foods that they're going to ask for, that their nutrition coach might say they need, um, and adopting a new food habits yourself, right? Adopting new food habits yourself, because how we were taught. I mean, I'm a parent of a teenager. A lot of parents are around the same age as me, but what we were taught was healthy when we were coming up has been proven to not necessarily be the case now. Um, when you know better, you do better. So the habits that we developed when we thought we were trying to be healthy when we were younger, those aren't going to fly for our kids today because we know better now, right? So we have to be open to hearing what they need because it may not necessarily be what we think we know. You know, we might think we know, but it's really not necessarily the case. You have to be open to hearing what they're going to need when it comes to their nutrition. And if they are going to eat well, then that we have to have that kind of food ready for them in the house. So you have to buy that kind of food for them. So you have to be open to hearing what is really good for them to be eating right now. So my book, the Teenage Athletes Nutrition Journal, I do think that's a really good resource for kids and parents to help make smart nutritional choices. I wrote this book because I kept getting the same questions from parents and kids about nutrition. And then I went to look to try to find a resource to guide them to, and I couldn't find it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to write one myself. So I did. And that's God's honest truth why I wrote that book. So myth number 5 has been busted. You can't just train well and then expect results if you're eating garbage. You cannot outtrain a bad diet. And parents need to support our kids' nutrition by having the right foods on hand and learning what those right foods might be, because it may not be what you think they are, right? So there you have it. 5 top training myths busted. Now, how kids train is really critical to how they're going to perform. It's not something that we really want to leave to chance. So helping these kids perform at their best and stay injury free, it really is an amazing job. I love it. And I have to confront these myths on a regular basis, honestly. So I know they're out there. And I'm really just grateful for a platform like this so that I can get this information out there beyond the kids that I'm staying face to face with in my class, so that we can really help them become this best generation of young female athletes yet.